Hello and welcome to another Best Junglers episode, this one for patch 13.21, and in this one Riot have decided that junglers were suffering too much from the previous nerfs and have given us something back. The problem with that is certain junglers who were really strong became kind of balanced, and now we've gone back into the other direction. And to see how these changes have impacted the jungle meta, we will go over all the best junglers for each rank, as well as those specifically for high and low MMR. And hey, guess what? Now with Mobalytics, you can actually track your LP gains over large sample sizes to see where you've plateaued and how far you've climbed. And when you combine that with using the best items and builds, using Mobalytics' new itemization feature with the best data, it's faster, it's more accurate, and while most sites just assess the items individually, Mobalytics now assesses them as part of a build, so it's way more accurate and reflective of how good they are. You can't just show a third item and say look at the win rate when you have no idea what the first two items were. All of this updated and pushed live to the companion app where you can put it directly into your client, along with all of the pre-game tips, post-game tips, as well as in-game tips. So if you want to dominate on the best junglers in the best way with all of the best information and keep up to date with all of the new itemization changes as the meta develops, click the link in the description below to download Mobalytics today. First up on the S tier page is going to be Graves, the most obnoxious champion to ever exist in terms of dominating jungle metas. He makes the game so damn boring for everybody else. Even I Will Dominate has said exactly that as well. He's an actual vacuum machine on the map at the moment because they gave back the 10% AD ratio onto the jungle pad. Not that he needed it, but they increased the healing for everybody as well. What you're looking at is a champion with a buffed Ghostblade eviscerating everybody else with no remorse, has very little downside, and honestly, if you are a good Graves, you will know exactly what to do in any given moment, and that will lead to total and utter domination of the enemy jungler, of the map, and giving you total game control. The only thing I need to explain to Graves players is that once you've actually got that lead, you've gotten the Herald and you're snowballing in the mid game, please don't disappear and try to get 10 CSPM and keep farming the jungle. There's the rest of us who understand that you think you can 1v9 the game, but when we want to end, we don't need you to be farming and doing other things. I see this way too often on Graves. They could just end the game at 22. They end at 27-30 because they're just so caught up in farming and doing whatever else Graves mains do. That helps them sleep at night knowing that they've made other junglers sleep by facing them. But if you're looking for something a bit more exciting and bitey, obviously Briar is absolutely astronomically supercharged and overpowered. Riot thinks they nerfed her, but they didn't because they keep giving compensation buffs to her and things like Bel'Veth for no particular reason. If they're strong, nerf them. You don't need to give them something back. It's okay. Jarvan's a great example. They just nerfed him. They didn't give him something back. So while everyone is happy with the attack speed growth nerf that they gave her, they're happy with the reduction on the snack attack. It just isn't enough. It does affect the lethality builds a lot more, although it does affect everyone as a baseline. Giving her that heal if the bleeding target dies, a 25% increase, seems completely unnecessary. And as such, he's still one of the best junglers in the game. As well as Jarvan. I just mentioned him, that's because they probably could have nerfed him a little bit more. The problem is though, it's not necessarily the champions in this list, although in some cases it is. A lot of the time, it's just itemization abuse and buffs that kind of synergize with it perfectly. Jarvan's original E cooldown buff last year is the problem with the current Shojin build. A Goldringer, Shojin, and Strikebreaker all need to be re-nerfed. These things dominate to have too many stats. Likewise with Hullbreaker, who is really not affected whatsoever by those little tiny nerfs they gave it. If you nerf these items back towards base level, you're gonna see a nice shakeup in the jungle meta, because basically giving that flat cooldown back to E instead of giving it a scaling cooldown would be great for Jarvan. Other than that, the champion's okay, it's just a Shojin Goldringer stuff that makes him giga strong as well. Likewise with Nocturne, he is actually quite balanced as a champion. He's a stat check champion to a certain degree, but when he has so many items that can allow him to stat check and become unkillable, specifically coupled with a good farming meta, you're having a jungler that's really difficult to face for most people. Lethal tempo, stickiness, spell shield, he's got Black Cleaver, he can go Shojin, you don't really need to go before 4th item, you've got GA as well to close games out. He's really a total package, and again, with the AD ratio buff being put back in with the pads, any AD champion that was a little bit suffering is now boosted up again, and any champion that was still fine is even stronger, which is why you're seeing the return of these champions. And why you're seeing the meta domination of your Graves, Briar, Jarvan, Nocturne, as well as Kha'Zix, who returns to the fold. Yes, his win rate is not as exemplary as it has been. Yes, Kha'Zix mains are quite victimizing in terms of, hey, we're so weak, Rengo's better, which isn't true at all. Kha'Zix is a way more accessible champion that has way more success in solo queue, always better data in terms of play rate and win rate, and now you have buffed Ghostblade, you've got Dustblade as an option, you've got good Sereldas, you've got good itemization across the board, and you can clear faster and healthier now, so the Bug Life has enough to make himself have a Bug's Life, and all laners should be quivering at the rancid, disgusting damage that he will bring forth upon their souls when he shows up. Okay, maybe that's a little over the top, he's not that strong, but he's honestly still pretty good. Definitely an S tier jungler, as long as you can use him correctly and understand how to play an assassin effectively. And this is something we talk a lot about in the courses, as well as all the other Virkayu.gg private content, how to maximize your class of champion, whether it's an assassin, fighter, tank, and sort of understanding how to build this and path accordingly and play and adapt to each meta. Next up, we have Evelyn, who, as always, is going to be here. They buffed Dark Seal, remember, and Electrocute's still good, and First Strike is still good even though they nerfed it. Also worth mentioning for Kha'Zix, I suppose. The thing is, without a doubt, you can shut her down. But if you don't keep that going, she can show up top lane, mid lane, bottom lane, 3 ganks in a row, all camouflage, use her charm, use her ultimate, she gets 3 kills, and now she runs off. So you've got to keep that pressure up, you've got to control objectives. Counter jungling is still absolutely positively powerful, you've got to use that against her. And as long as you can run in, invade her, kill her, and do those things, she will never quite get going. And even though she might feed on an ADC's corpse or a Soraka's corpse, you will be there because you can 1v1 her and take control. But the champion is still something that can go absolutely crazy in solo queue. Keep your wards up, keep your brains awake, keep your eyes functioning, and ensure she does not suck you too hard. That's because she's a succubus, not because she's fiddlesticks. We'll get to him later. Next up, we have Lily, and don't let the win rate and play rate fool you. This champion, in terms of skill issue as well as how powerful it is the biggest ratio in the game. Nothing is as powerful as she is in terms of how easy she is to use. You vibe, you clear, you skirmish, you win. You have healing, you have damage, you are unkillable, you're unkiteable. Even if the early game begins to become a little bit weird and your laners are dying and maybe you're not having the best time, it's really easy to start to lap them, counter jungle them, show a bit of herald fight, get a triple Q, get an ult off, use your sweet spot damage, use your true damage, use your slows, use everything in your kit, and enjoy yourself absolutely free, uncompromised, and undeserved LP. Nah, just kidding, most of you deserve it. Not all of you though. You know who you are. And finally, we have Tree, Big Tree, my friend Tree, and his friend Rabbit, although the Rabbit's a sapling that explodes and he can regenerate it. Champion is a little bit slow in terms of your clears, you do feel that in comparison to other champions on this list, but because of the buffs to tank clearing and to staying within the jungle with the pet's last patch, Maokai and all other tanks were having a good time, except Maokai also does copious amounts of damage. He can trap with saplings, he's guaranteed lockdown, you should never have an issue finding ganks in lanes, you should never have issues peeling assassins with your W, or engaging or disengaging with your ultimate. This is for those who not only love the forest and hate orcs, but also for those who simply want to ensure that their lanes get the best treatment possible. 5-star hotels and spa treatments. And if they're still unhappy, there's not much you could have done, but you know you enabled them as much as possible. You do like a little bit of solo carry potential, but a good Maokai is a good tree to have on your team. Next up, we have the Lee Sin, who is, having the highest play rate as always, and enjoying Gore Drinker builds, and Black Cleaver builds, and Sterex builds. So basically, he's good to go. Sure, you might be counter jungled a little bit, and sure, you can do a bit of that counter jungling, but his fisting and his raw itemization abuse is super duper strong, his kick is legendary, and if you're not a ward hop without having to flash, you should have no issue winning with this champion. Following the monk, we have the Suck. Fiddlesticks is still here. He will never not be here until Riot specifically says, hey, this champion's incredible. How has he been so strong for 3 years and we just let it happen? How do we keep buffing Dark Seal and enabling certain things? But the best Fiddlesticks mains are using Hex Flash. I've been promoting this for about a year now. All my coaching students who do Fiddlesticks, they use the Hex Flash tech and have the best time of it. So try it out, enjoy yourself, and enjoy the free LP that you will always get. Best champion to one trick. Pain is back in his form of not only blue, base, and Rost, but also as a funky weird dude wearing a crop top, which he does look good in the Heartsteel music video. But as always with Kayn, if there's counter jungling involved, bonus AD ratios for clearing involved, healthier clears involved, those are all things he loves, and all things he's good at abusing, and all things you should continue to use to win with this champion. Echo is one that kind of feels a bit odd. You play him, you feel a little bit clunky early, and then you get a few things going. A counter gank here, a gank there, a few counter jungling moments, you get a few items, and all of a sudden you're fluid, you one-shotting everybody, even the Fed Jinx is something you can deal with. All of these things are just at your fingertips. It's difficult to access his full kit a little bit. You have to ensure that you're not waiting too long to come online, but at the same time, as long as you track the enemy jungler, strategically use that W perfectly, you should have no issue getting heralds, snowballing as an assassin, and enjoying the boring AP itemization that is still effective. Following this, we have the return of Bel'Veth, who can now clear again a little bit, also has way more uptime on that E, 4-second buff at rank 1, and obviously enjoying faster clears again with healthier clears again, so she's able to do what she was always doing beforehand. It's definitely not as strong, guaranteed. The reason they buffed the damage reduction cooldown here from 24 to 20 seconds at rank 1 is purely because they nerfed the amount of damage reduction she had, so if there's less power in it, it needs to be up a little bit more, and that's kind of the idea here. Although I don't necessarily think we needed to go into this arena just yet, but Squidface is back, so. Well, the next one, Carthus, is Halloween Incarnate at a great time. Still, you know, doing his thing. The first strike nerfs do affect him in terms of damage, but again, it's not necessarily about the damage. People are focusing on the wrong thing. It's about the spikes you get from the econ gain. Imagine I told you just for pressing R and a few buttons on your champion, specifically him as well, you could get a free needlessly large rod. You could get a free BF sword. That's the kind of stuff you're looking to get with the damage amp you have as well, just by the way, and also access to the best tree in the game. So, play Karthus, play First Strike, and enjoy winning. Farm, sequence, counter jungle, and then if someone invades you, you can actually kill them. Take exhaust and do the work. Do it. And if you don't want to do work, you can go with either the lesser tree, but not in terms of win rate. People last patch said, why is he not in the videos? Win rate's insane. The guy has a 1% pick rate. If you go ahead and increase the pick rate, does it sustain itself? No, it goes down 100%. But he was very, very strong. However, he's not the best one to use to carry and climb as a blind sort of thing to do. He has a unique clear that you can do to get maximum uptime early so you can really gank and affect those lanes. But most Ivrans just don't know how to control Daisy properly, position bushes properly, hit their Qs reliably, and know how to peel with shield spam. It's not something that's difficult, it's just unique. And he's great for carrying, he's super strong at the moment, 100%, and I'm putting him in this video, but he's not something that's sort of like, hey, a blind 1v9 carry. But if you want a blind 1v9 carry, no, not Lee Sin, Master Yeetus is back to greet us, and would you know it, giving him more true damage equals a better win rate, better success, better scaling, more damage at all points, and obviously when you amplify your attack speed with more true damage, you're gonna have a lot more fun. So, you know, Master Yi, there you go. Good thing we have Ivrans and Maokais to peel him. And now we can shift with an unholy rush to the low elo page where there is still no Master Yi. Why? Because things like Briar exist, Nocturne exist, and Rammus exists, as well as Lilia, Amumu, Maokai, and Diana. These are the picks that you use for low elo that will give you the best success. Obviously, Amumu is a standard here. I don't necessarily recommend it blindly. I prefer the rest of them on this list, but he really does enable you to learn the jungle a lot more effectively, understand team fighting, understand playing a bit more selflessly, and these things are important when you play any champion because you've got to know when it's time to pull the 1v9 selfish split push, when it's time to play the team fight, when it's time to peel the win con, and if you're playing even Diana or Lilia, these things hold true, same for Jarvan. So understanding these different areas, all of these champions will make you a better jungler and more able to get higher up in the ranks, like say to the high elo page. And here we have Graves absolutely eviscerating, like I said in the first section. We have Lee Sin doing that as well. Nidalee, not as good in general population as she was, just because of matchups and obviously the shift in the jungle here. But overall in high elo, always going to be obnoxious and strong if you are good with her mechanically. The interesting ones I put here are most notably the Hecarim and the Kindred and the Viego. Taliyah, we know you can't necessarily always just straight blind pick it, but if you know how to play her, you can in solo queue and have good success. But the AD ratio buffs to the pet, the higher sustain in the clearing means things like Kindred can once more go ahead and maybe be a bit more predatorial with a safer sort of investment. You have the Hecarim, who's absolutely great after those buffs. I'm putting him here because he's good in high elo because they're building him correctly. Most Hecarim players in general population simply are not building him correctly, and it is really something that I don't understand because they buffed him for no particular reason. They even said in the patch notes, hey, he's good and the Ghostblade build is taking off, but we want to increase his power anyway. It's a strike breaker moment. His win rate is low because atomization is suboptimal. Attack damage growth is great. Spirit of the Dread is now up by an extra second, so now you can be tankier while you kill people. His win rate definitely doesn't represent his power. It doesn't always, but he's definitely in a solid state in high elo, as well as for everybody else, but that will depend on your itemization and how you read the map. Definitely a binary and obvious pick, but doesn't matter if he's just gonna dish it out and be able to take it as well. And obviously Viego is one I like in high elo. He's okay for everybody else as well, but it does require good timing, good investment, good tracking, good pathing, and you're not gonna be this counter jungling machine. Yeah, you need to do a little bit of everything. He is good at everything, and if you can be good at everything, you will succeed on this champion, and obviously understanding how to play the champions you become when you take their souls for a bit of a joyride. But if you really want to understand how to jungle in this new meta, no matter what champion you play, how to do it, video, box in your top right. Click it.